What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Inconsequential Gaming. So today, we're going to be continuing our challenge. Let's see what we can see here. So I still haven't decided if I want to do a no Anvil run altogether. Meaning absolutely no weapons that need to be crafted using an anvil, and absolutely no armors that have to be crafted using an anvil. I seem to be doing pretty okay, but we'll see. We shall see. I don't want to get too ambitious, but as you know, I can use weapons and armor and all of that drops from enemies, and any weapons and armor that I find in chests, and also any weapons or armor that I can buy from merchants. But it also occurred to me that I can probably go get some armor from the corruption, because yes, the eaters drop ancient, what's it called? Ancient armor, something like that. It's ancient something armor. I can't quite think of what the name is, but yes, I can go for that. So I'm going to try to see if I can grab me some ancient dark armor. I don't know. I don't know what it's called. We'll find out once I get my hands on some. Yeah, also, I have to get used to the idea of selling stuff, because there's a good amount of things that I'm not going to use this run. So it feels a little weird. Usually, I'm used to just storing everything in chests, but because the majority of those things I won't be using, mainly ores. Like I'm trying to think, is there any use for the run that I'm doing for ores aside from weapons and armor? And I really can't think of any, because yeah, for the most part, everything that I'm going to be doing or grabbing or using to finish the game is going to be from chests or drop from enemies. So I don't know, I just don't want to get too ambitious and sell everything, but I do want to make sure that I'm selling stuff so that if an NPC has a really cool weapon or a piece of armor or whatever, that I'll always have the money to buy it, and I don't have to worry about not having enough. So I want to make sure that I always have money. And it's good that I have a treasure trove now that'll make it a little easier. But yeah, it's tough to get used to selling stuff. So yeah, I have to really try to make sure that I don't do anything too crazy and then sell something and end up regretting it later. But for the most part, I think I'll be okay. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why the Desert Tiger is going to come in handy, because anything that I screw up doing, like selling something too early or not thinking, I can probably easily just go replace it all the way up into probably early hard mode. So I don't know, I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but it's just one of those things, I have to get used to the idea that yes, I need to sell things, I need to play this a little differently. So yeah, it's hard to get used to, you know. But at the same time, it's but I don't know, I'm thinking for some reason I can probably go without using an anvil this entire playthrough. I really think I can do it. I'm gonna try. I'm not gonna make it an official rule of things that I can't do just yet. I really want to try to wait. But the more I think about it, because of the type of map that I'm on, and I have access to everything, both Crimson and Corruption, I'm really thinking that I can probably go without using an anvil at all. I really think it's doable, but I'll keep following that rule until until I find otherwise, where I'm just like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. But just know that even though it's not official, I'm gonna try to follow it as long as I can, of just not using an anvil for anything, and then we'll see how it goes. And then if I'm pretty sure, I'll go ahead and decide to just add it as a rule. But for now, it's just kind of an unwritten rule. Oh, and by the way, I've been keeping up somewhat with the caves and cliffs update to Minecraft. And you know, normally I don't pay much attention to Minecraft anymore because, okay, so before I talk about these updates and why I think they're cool, first I want to kind of make clear, I think I might have said this in an older video, but before I got into Terraria, I had to make a decision, and this is just me. I'm not suggesting that you can't play both and enjoy both games. You can definitely do that. However, with me, I usually play my games very slow, and I usually, well, aside from taking my time with them and playing them slowly, I usually try to dive deep into my games and understand them. And especially with a sandbox, I think of so many ideas that I want to do with the sandbox game that usually it takes me a while before I'm completely finished with it. Or usually with the sandbox games that I like, there's no such thing as finished. It's more so I accomplished what I wanted to do so far, so now I can play something different, and I'll come back to said game if I have a newer idea or something like that, right? In the case of Minecraft and Terraria, I made a decision myself of which game that I was going to, well, I guess buy, but more so which one I was going to play basically for a lifetime, right? So it's not that I think that one game is better than the other. I just felt as though Terraria was better for me at the time and the type of game that I wanted to play. Because even though building is something I find enjoyable, it's always been, and I say this for every sandbox I've ever played, base building and just building in general and sorting inventory and gotta catch them all that stuff to me is post-end game. Like once you beat the game and there's nothing left to do, there's no enemies left to kill or whatever, then you kind of go and do that stuff. That's kind of how I play. Now, I'm not saying that that's how you play these games. I'm speaking about me, right? So I had to decide, do you want to play Minecraft or do you want to play Terraria? And Minecraft was cool, but it felt like a builder game, right? And as I said before, to me, that's in-game content. And I don't know everything about Minecraft anymore because I stopped following it for a while. But there was a time when I used to keep up with everything Minecraft. There was even one point in Minecraft's life that I almost chose that game over Terraria. And it was this update called the Aether update. Well, not an update, I'm sorry. It was a mod. Yeah, it was a mod made by one of the fans in the Minecraft community called the Aether. And what it did was basically add another I want to make sure I'm saying this right. It added another dimension, sort of like, you know how in Minecraft a part of the vanilla game is when you make a nether portal, you can go to the nether world? Well, there was another alternative to that called the Aether, and I thought that mod was so brilliant, and it kind of Okay, so to explain, it kind of fed into what I like with sandbox games is the adventuring. Like I like to go out, explore, fight bosses, fight enemies, get cool armor and weapons. And the Aether felt like it was pushing Minecraft in that direction. And to be honest with you, it was so well done that I almost every time I would watch a person play that, it was the specific person I watched play it was a guy named Paperbat VG. I don't know if he still makes content because I haven't really searched for him, but he was the main person who got me into keeping an eye on Minecraft. Like before him, I didn't even really think much about Minecraft. It's not that I thought it was bad, it's just like I didn't really think it was a game for me. Even though the building aspect was always cool, but he's the one who would always do these really crazy and creative things and download all these crazy mods and stuff. And he would always find a way to make it entertaining. So that's why I was on the fence about those two games. Terraria spoke to me instantly. Like, I don't think I needed much persuasion to jump into Terraria after its updates. Before, it was sort of a game that I thought was cool, but it was missing certain things, and I was kind of like, well, this seems like one of those games that gets a lot of updates. So the way that it plays, I wouldn't be surprised if the game gets to a point where it catches my interest, and probably a couple months down the line, like it did just that, and I was just like, yep, I'm gonna get that, but I need to look at this Minecraft game. Anyhow, aside from that story, so first, before I even decided to check up on Minecraft, the only reason the game got my attention again was because Minecraft Steve was announced for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and that's another game that I love. So it's one of those things where I couldn't really ignore it. And during the Sakurai Presents presentation, he said something about there being a Minecraft presentation that was going to follow. And of course, I wasn't really interested. I was like, I already played Terraria. I'm not even close to being done with this game yet, so I don't think Minecraft is really going to do anything that would catch the interest of someone like me. They have a solid fan base. They're probably going to do more of what they already do. So there's no need for me to really waste my time checking into that. But something caught my attention watching Minecraft Steve build blocks and really troll some of the Nintendo characters in the presentation, and I was like, you know what? I mean, it wouldn't hurt. Let me at least look at what some of these updates are. And when I saw some of the stuff that they were adding, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And it kind of made me reevaluate my position a little bit. But yeah, aside from all that though, what I found really cool, aside from naturally just finding the updates to be intriguing, was the fact that later in the presentation, I think maybe close to halfway through it, it's really long. Wow, I don't really know, maybe almost 2 hours. Yeah, it's really long, but somewhere about half, maybe a little before halfway through the presentation, I found out that not only are these updates, pretty intriguing, just that's pretty cool, but I found out that the guy who actually created the Aether mod now works for the company who makes Minecraft and doing programming and developing and all that other stuff. So again, as I said, to me, the Aether mod was the selling point to me for Minecraft. Like that was the point where I almost thought to myself, you know what? I might actually like pick this game up because the adventuring portion. You know what? I can say this. Ever since I've seen gameplay clips of God of War, the newest one, where you do the extra content and you fight the Valkyries and stuff like that. That portion of that game reminds me almost exactly of the Aether mod in some ways. So it's one of those things like if I could put you kind of like in my own head to give you an idea of how that mod looked to me, it looked just like that, as if someone managed to somehow seamlessly place God of War's adventuring into Minecraft. And that to me was just brilliant. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But yeah, like if a lot of his ideas are a part of the DNA of the new content that's going to be in the updates, like I wouldn't even be surprised if somehow, because they didn't show everything. There's always secrets. But if his DNA, that guy, his DNA is somehow incorporated into these new updates in the same way the Aether made me feel about Minecraft. This is just watching someone else play. Mind you, this isn't even me playing the game myself. I'm just watching. If I can get that same feeling, like, I'm almost asking myself, well, why wouldn't you get Minecraft with all these cool updates, To be honest, too, there were some updates that I watched earlier that I wasn't sure if it was a mod, if it was like a April Fool's joke, but there were some updates. This was before the Caves and Cliffs update, and a lot of the concepts kind of reminded me of like Terraria. Like there was this don't hold it against me. I don't know if these are real updates or not because I kind of just saw it. I wasn't looking for it. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's real or not, but there were these updates that kind of reminded me of Terraria, where Minecraft, I think in the Netherworld got an update that was similar to the Crimson biome in Terraria, and also similar to the Mushroom biome in Terraria. Now, I don't know. Like, if you're a Minecraft person, like, I apologize if I'm wrong. I don't know. But it looked kind of like I said, it looked cool. But I was like, I already got Terraria, so why would I want that stuff? Like, I mean, I guess it's cool to look at, but again, I like adventuring. I like bosses. I like enemies. I like cool armor and weapons. Like, this isn't for me. So as cool as it is, it's just like, I'm going to do all of that stuff in the end game of Terraria anyway. So why would I, put much stock into that stuff, But at least in the Caves and Cliffs update, some things did remind me of Terraria. Now, they're kind of different in their own ways. But okay, so there's these things. This is kind of what caught my attention the most that reminded me of Terraria. Is there's these things called lush caves, right? And lush caves are basically underground forests, or I would say kind of underground bramble, shrubbery, like foliage places where there's like a lot of vines and a lot of like flowers that create these weird particles, and it's really like warm and it has glowing fruit and stuff like that, like a really majestic type place. And even though I would say that the hidden grottos in Terraria that usually have the sword shrines are, I won't say they're bland, like they're just kind of like, yeah, they're kind of there, and they're not bad, but there's nothing really special about them. I mean, I guess maybe it's just getting used to them, but I'll say maybe they're a little bit more attractive in 1.4, because honestly, I haven't found one in 1.4, and honestly, I don't think I was looking for one either. I don't recall finding it, and that's another thing. If I did, they're so like not necessarily generic because they're unique to Terraria, I think, but they're so run of the mill as far as Terraria goes that like I might have missed it. I don't know. Like they're not anything super exciting. Like even when I first found one, like it was cool, but then I saw like there was like 3 others, and I was kind of like, oh, okay. So this is kind of a new thing that I missed out on because I didn't know about the updates. So this is really old content. But anyhow, so there's that. There's also these crystal caverns. I would say that it reminds me of a mixture of both Terraria and Dark Souls. But you know, I won't get into that. But I would say, at least for Minecraft's sake, comparing it to like Terraria, it's unique enough to where I don't think there's any direct comparisons you can draw, because the crystal mini biomes in Terraria are like super small. There's nothing really super special about them other than the fact that, you know, you can get a lot of gems. And of course they added the trees, the gem trees now, so it's one of those things where it's just like, you know, either or is cool. Like there are these little mini portions that add some variety, but supposedly like these crystal caverns are gonna play like a pretty huge role in the game or something like that. Also, during the reveal, they were talking about some new mobs they're going to be adding to Minecraft, and I think as far as the cliffs go, the goats, there was these goats. But what's cool about the goats, I think they're just kind of, yeah, I wouldn't call them critters because like Minecraft's different, but they're sort of just like the animals of the game that I don't know if they're necessarily distinctive from mobs, but I've always considered like the animals and like critters in Minecraft to be separate from like enemies, but I don't know if that game considers them different. But I will say that they're aggressive, and they will try to like push you off cliffs and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. I think that's something that's kind of unique to Minecraft now. But there are 2 other enemy types that kind of remind me of Terraria. And there's a thing called a warden and a glow squid. There's also like a new like fish enemy called an axolotl, I think. I don't know, like I don't really draw any comparisons with that fish to like Terraria at all. I mean, because Terraria is full of like cute critters and like enemies and stuff, but I mean, that's another thing that I think would be unique to Minecraft. But yeah, the warden and the glow squid, just, you know, it just kind of reminds me of the jellyfish. I would say the glow squid, like, I don't think they showed any gameplay footage of what that'll look like in a dark cave or cavern, or maybe just like in the deep underground. But of course, we all know, like those of us who play Terraria, that you get the little cool lighting effect when you're deep underground. and there's like this little closed off section of a jellyfish glowing underground that'll kind of reveal more of the map for you. So that's always cool. And you know, I kind of just drew the comparison. I was like, oh, okay. Of course I wouldn't know that wasn't a thing in Minecraft, but I'm sure they have their methods of like lighting up underwater, because I've watched enough Let's Plays to know that the ability to see underwater is a thing, but I've never really, I don't think I've ever really seen what that looks like in the dark, or if there's like a special torch. I'm thinking because of flares in Terraria that maybe I might be confusing the two, but I promise if I did see underwater exploration in Minecraft during like a dark, or like when it's completely like dark outside and like the player can't see anything aside from like some special ability or some torch or maybe even like a mining helmet or flashlight, I've never seen a large amount of interesting underwater exploration, though I do know there's some interesting stuff underwater in Minecraft. But again, this is coming from a person who's watched people play the game, and like I don't own it, so you know, I wouldn't know the difference one way or another. But that's kind of what the glow squid reminded me of. The warden is more so kind of like, I know they look different, but the warden kind of reminds me of the new rock golem enemy in the caves that is super dangerous, and you want to kind of avoid him at all costs and like sneak around him. You know, they look different, but I feel like they serve pretty much the same purpose. You know what I mean? And then the other stuff that they're adding that kind of reminds me of Terraria a little bit is, well, aside from the crystal caves that are kind of more like Dark Souls, but there's like these caves with drip stones in them, right? And I kind of feel like Terraria's, as far as I know, with the 1.3.5 update, they've always had not drip stone, but like having certain portions of caves and stuff that do drip was just one of those, I think, natural occurrences in the game. And then of course, and I don't know when the dropper was added as a feature that lets you place drip. Well, anything can drip. It could be like, you could have lava drip, honey drip, water drip, sand drip now, I think. I don't know if that's new. But yes, it was usually like a natural part of like exploring. It just kind of happened. I think it was just a feature that was added now as like a thing that you can purposely put on like something you built. And yeah, that's what that kind of reminded me of, the dripstone caves. Because Terraria has its own version of stalactite and stalagmite, just as like decoration. Yeah, it's called like Decos or something like that. I use that for adventure maps and all that, but yeah, that's pretty usual. But I don't think Minecraft has ever really had that. I'm really convinced that that's new. I've never heard like a drip sound effect in Minecraft. See, I'm always thinking about Terraria sometimes, because I was watching Minecraft and like the two games are similar in a lot of ways. And in like, little details like that can kind of go overlooked, but I don't remember hearing like little drip sound effects in Minecraft anytime I watched it. So I think at least the visual cue of having something drip is new, but I can't confirm or deny whether the sound effect will be new or if it'll even make a sound effect. I would think so, if you want to add more atmosphere to the caves, that the drip sound effect would be something you add. But yeah, that's something that reminded me of Terraria. And then, you know, aside from the lush caves, there's I wouldn't call it the opposite, but there's like something called like the deep. And I don't know, it has like this weird block. I want to call it like abyss, but that's not what it is. But I think it spawns wardens or whatever. The enemy that reminds me of the rock golem, the really like difficult, like huge, yeah, it's like a huge mob. And I think those biomes, it's like a mini biome, I think. Honestly, I don't know for certain how big these biomes can get, because what the developers made it seem like in the presentation was that a lot of this stuff's random. So for example, with the whole caves and cliffs update, they made it so where caves are more spacious sometimes. It's more like random. Like you'll have some caves that are like vanilla Minecraft with like, you know, minor improvements here and there. And then you'll have it where sometimes they'll bleed into like something like the lush caves. And I think that's only something that you can get with like this special tree. So it's one of those things where both of them have to kind of align themselves, kind of like Terraria, where you have like a living tree, like the really big ones, where they just sometimes, you know, overlap with other stuff. So I think that's a thing that can happen. That's kind of what they made it sound like. But I guess my point is, these other mini biomes can sometimes not be mini. Like the way they described it made it seem like these two things can overlap. So you might get lush caves that overlap the extended cave, and then the whole extended cave can be anything from drip caves to lush caves. So it's sort of not predetermined, at least how they described it. And then that can also bleed over into the deep dark caves or whatever. And then maybe you might have this whole extensive, you know, huge opening of like deep dark caves. So that's what it made it seem like. But yeah, that's kind of unique to Minecraft, I think. But yeah, it sounds really cool. And then I'll say the last thing in that presentation that reminded me a lot of stuff in Terraria, because again, I do adventure maps and I use a lot of wiring, is these new, I think they're plants. I can't say for certain, but they look like plants that you can get from the deep dark caves that are almost like sensors. And what happens is when a player is like within like a certain radius or range of the sensor, it'll act like a trigger, or I think in Minecraft it's like redstone, and it'll kind of send a pulse towards like something else, like if you connect it, to activate. And it looked like in its natural like environment, whenever you make that plant like go off by being in its vicinity, it'll make the other plants go off. So it's kind of really neat. Like I feel like even though it reminds me a lot of like sensors in Terraria, it has its own unique feature of, number one, being a natural I guess a natural occurrence in the world, and then two, having, I think, a completely separate function from I guess, what the player probably will use it for in a build. Whereas I just have this feeling that like it's one of those things that agitates either enemies, or it kind of gives you a jump scare where you'll come into this place, you'll activate one of the plants, right, by accident because you don't know what it is, and then all the other plants start like making noise, and then like if you're trying to be quiet, like it'll kind of be like having the player like, shh, be quiet, and then maybe it'll agitate, you know, some mobs. Like I could see it being a cool little trigger effect where you step in like maybe a large deep dark cave, you get in the vicinity of one of these plants, the plant starts like going off, then it starts setting off the other plants, and then you'll see like this whole trigger effect go down the line of like place to a place you've never even seen, and then mobs way in the distance start moaning and making noise. I can see how that would be really cool and atmospheric. But yeah, like it's similar, but I feel like it has its own unique enough touch. And like I said, I really feel like the guy who made the Aether mod had a, you know, I hate when I do this, but I feel like I really want to credit this guy because that feels a lot like something that he would do, at least from, because I'm telling you, like that Aether mod, I really thought it was a great addition to Minecraft, and I almost wished it was official, right? But the cool stuff, like he had like these anti-gravity blocks that were the opposite of sand, so instead of falling, like having gravity fall down, it would go up, and it was a whole bunch of little cool stuff like that he did, and that feels like something that he would do, you know. I guess the last thing that I can say that is kind of similar to Terraria for Minecraft, with the presentation, but like not really. I mean, was like the telescope. I mean, an item that like allows you to see farther. Like, I don't know. Like it's kind of like a given, you know. Like I don't know. I don't know if you can say that's similar. Like any game, like I would say most sandbox games in some form or fashion give you something like that. I don't know. It's cool that it's there. What I will say is that I'm kind of surprised that something like a telescope or binoculars wasn't already in Minecraft. Like that's surprising to me. But I've watched like so many Terraria, well not Terraria, I'm sorry, so many Minecraft mods that like maybe I had an impression that like something like that already existed and just never thought about it. But yeah, that's kind of surprising that that's a new feature. But and then I don't know, some of the more unique things that I thought was pretty cool was like the excavation brush, and I think I don't know if this is right, but I think there's excavation mini biomes where there's specific places you can dig or use the brush. I don't know if digging and using the brush is going to kind of be something you have to do side by side, but yeah, like you use the excavation brush to like gently clear out artifacts and stuff, and then at least from what they showed, you can make these cool little custom pots and stuff. So you know, it's a lot like furniture in Terraria, like, but I mean, both games are crafting games, so I mean, that's always been something that was similar among the two games, I think. But yeah, like that, I don't know how far they're gonna go with that. Like that's another thing that I found kind of intriguing, was the whole excavation thing. Like if I was to play, let's say tomorrow, or when the updates officially drop, I think they're scheduled for 2021, like early 2021. I don't know exactly, but let's say it was out today, and I said to myself, "Hey, this is how I want to play Minecraft. I want to be an archaeologist, and all I want to do is all I want to do is just dig for artifacts and stuff." How far is that gonna go? You know what I mean? Like, am I gonna be able to just do that and it's gonna be like its own thing? Like, can I play the whole game like that, or is it just one of those neat features that's kind of there, but like once you've done it like once or twice, it's kind of like, all right, we did that? Or does it go deeper? Like, is the artifact thing deeper than just making pots? One of the things that I was thinking about was, and I was thinking it was a mod at the time, but there's this village guardian, right? It's something that I've always loved in games where there's a village, and you know the people there, for the most part, they're not fighters. But you know, you do have like a band of people who kind of protect it, like mercenaries, and then they'll be, you know, most fantasy settings. In the games I play, I mean, there's like a village guardian, and it's kind of meant to give the people who don't fight that extra edge over like an army that wants to come attack them. But anyway, so I wasn't sure if it was a mod or not at the time, but there was an update where they added villagers, and I think they had a village guardian, and it was like just a rock golem, right? And what was interesting about that was I didn't think about it one way or another, because to me it was sort of like, it's a cool feature, I guess, right? But I was thinking with the whole artifacts thing, it would be cool if it went an extra step where you could craft like ancient like weapons and relics and stuff. So for example, how in Terraria you have minions, it would be cool to be able to craft like some sort of like minion or guardian or something that's unique. And you know, like I'm saying, it doesn't have to be that specifically, but it would be cool if, you know, they took it a step further aside from, you know, just creating pots. And of course, that's what they just showed. I don't know what they're actually going to do with it, but, you know, I'm hoping that what they just showed isn't like the extent of like how far the archaeology stuff goes, you know. And then one of the features that I liked specifically, and it's really simple, but out of everything, was the copper blocks. Like that. So the main thing I like is not only how it looks, like that's obvious, like any new block in a building game is always going to be cool, but specifically this block. And this is, you know, aside from all the other stuff, but this was important because this is where I felt as though Minecraft was embracing its own uniqueness. Again, not to say that these weren't all original ideas, it's just that they're similar to things that I've already experienced in Terraria. And it's like I said, I was one of those gamers who was on the fence because I already had Terraria, so it's one of the things like, why would I get, you know what I mean, Minecraft? Here's the thing with that, with those copper blocks is, so what they do is they slowly start to turn green the longer that they've, I guess, been in place, right? So it's sort of like one of those in-game features that changes over time. And it's not unique to, I would say, these type of games. What I mean by that is, for example, in Terraria, right? If you leave a certain part of Terraria like completely like unattended to, depending on what it is, you'll come back to like overgrown vines and bushes and stuff like that. So what I'm saying is signs of aging isn't particularly unique in these types of games, right? However, I kind of feel like there's no real mechanic, I would say, in these types of games that accounts for something that's really old, aside from maybe a timestamp. Now, I would say the only thing unique that I would say that Terraria has is with the tombstones, which if you leave them unattended, you know, it'll record specifically the date that the character, you know, was killed, which is kind of cool because it's sort of I was gonna say an internal clock. That's not right. It's sort of like it's sort of like a timestamp, if that makes any sense. Like it's a time, as long as you leave it alone, it's a timestamp that with age will become more appreciated. Like if you go to a map, like say for example 10 years from now, I decide I want to turn on Terraria, and then I go to an old map and I see an old tombstone from 10 years ago, I might get a rush of nostalgia if, you know, I was there for whatever happened, or maybe it was a multiplayer map and then it kind of brings up old memories of, oh, I remember that. So that exists in Terraria now, right? But the thing about these copper blocks is, number one, I don't know how long it takes for them to age. Now what happens is when they turn green, it's a representation of how long they've been there. And one of the developers said that it was sort of inspired by the older buildings in like the city they live in. It's like these really, I guess it's one of those type of cities that they preserve their landmarks and historical structures. So when the things like that age, like they get to see, you know, what it looks like in modern times. But I don't know what the clock is for those type of copper blocks. Like, does it take a very long time for them to turn green? Like, does it take literal like years? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how much they put into that, right? But what I will say this: if that's the type of block that, I mean, let's say they really got into it and they were just like, no, we're leaning into this. Like, this block, if you want it to turn green, it has to be here for a long time. Here's the thing. This is why this is unique to Minecraft. As a person who paid really close attention to that game a while back, is that one of the really cool things, at least from the perspective of watching other people play, one of the cool things I've seen about content creators who do that, who do Minecraft videos, is they like to go to old maps a lot, right? And what would be cool is if seeing copper block that is just straight green is only something that's achievable with like actual years. So when you go to a map and you see that, it gives you sort of like perspective of like, wow, this is really old. And like, I don't know, like I said, I don't know if they're gonna lean into that. I kind of feel like it might be a reach, but it would be unique to Minecraft because old maps in Minecraft, at least from what I've seen with the community, I haven't quite seen that with Terraria, but I don't really pay attention to the Terraria community like I did the Minecraft community back then. But I will say that unlike Minecraft, I don't think that players in Terraria, I kind of consider myself one of them, but not really. I'll explain that later. All I'm saying is I don't think Terraria players really have these close connections with their older maps, unless you're a builder, right? But I still even feel like builders kind of get over it too, because I feel like anytime a new block or feature comes out, they don't necessarily abandon their own maps, but it's all about building newer stuff, right? And you might visit the old maps maybe just to kind of show it off, but like nobody's itching to go back to their old maps, you know, because anytime Terraria gets a major update, you can feel the age of like your older stuff. So it's like, it's almost kind of like you're dissuaded to go backward, right? At least that's how I feel. I can't speak for everyone, but Minecraft, it feels like they, especially community servers and stuff, they really cherish, aside from the griefers, right? But I mean, they really seem to cherish their older communities and maps, and exploring them is almost like going to like an ancient ruin and stuff. And seeing those copper blocks turn green or be green because they're just that old, like depending on how much they lean into that, that would be absolutely cool. Like I feel like that would probably sell me, because it would be, I feel like I feel like it would be the representation of everything else they want to do. And again, the fact that the guy who created the Aether mod is part of the team, I was already somewhat sold. Like I was kind of sold, right? It's because I'm, like I said, I take a long time to play my games and I really get invested. So I don't know if I would realistically play Minecraft as much as I do Terraria, or I would have to choose, right? And I'm not quite done with Terraria yet, so I feel like I would be a bit in over my head. But if something like that is kind of the whole spirit of everything they're trying to do with the game, including everything else that I brought up, I almost feel like I should just get it just to have it. You know what I mean? So then just in case, when I move on, you know what, I'll probably do it. I think I'm sold. I just haven't made up my mind officially yet. And then like the last but least interesting thing, but I'm sure Minecraft players probably enjoy it like a lot. But yeah, it wasn't that interesting to me, but perhaps if I played Minecraft, I would learn to appreciate it. But there were these things called bundles. Now, here's the thing. The reason that I don't really, like, they didn't really appeal to me is because I feel like we have something like that in Terraria, but in reverse, right? So instead of like being able to gather all of this stuff together, actually that's not quite right. Right, so let me say it this way. So there's two versions of bundles that I believe Terraria has, right? So the first thing is, to get it out of the way, is the infinite like ammo and like arrows type deal, where after you get a certain amount of like ammo or arrows, at least in its most basic form, I think it only works for wooden arrows and just standard pellets or bullets, whatever you call them. Maybe even seeds too. I don't know. I don't really use I don't really use that stuff, but I've made it before. Anyhow, so you can bundle all that stuff together, and then basically it uses up less inventory space, is what I'm saying, right? I guess depending on what you're trying to do, that saves a lot of space. I get it. Because ammo, you know what I mean, it can take up a lot of space. So I get why somebody would want to do that, right? But then on the flip side, you have real similar items like the bundle of herbs that you can find in chests, or like the bundle of or like the can of worms. There's a few other things, but basically they come in a bundle, and if you want to open them, oh, I got it. They're sort of like surprise boxes, right? Where there's stuff in there, and some of it is obvious stuff. Like, for example, the herbal pouch. You'll get obvious stuff, but then there's some stuff that's not as obvious, like boss surprise bags or whatever you call those things. Like a boss drop, and it's kind of bundled in like a little like baggie, right? And the thing is, just like, as long as you want to save inventory space, you don't have to open those things. Like, you can collect like 50, 99 of them, like however much they stack, and then just put them away until you're ready to open them. So it's like, we kind of already have that in Terraria. And then storage is a lot better. And I don't know, I kind of like having like a whole storage section where you like put all of your stuff. So I don't know, I feel like Terraria and storage kind of figured it out. And I'm kind of curious as to why, at least from what I know about Minecraft, why storage would be an issue. That's confusing to me, but again, this is coming from a person who watches the game and doesn't play it. So Minecraft players probably know exactly why making bundles is like the most important thing ever. I just wasn't impressed, and I'm sure I'll probably be glad it's there, like, once I start playing it. I feel like it's a guarantee that I'm probably going to pick it up. But I'm just saying, it's just, maybe I'll learn to appreciate it. But, like, right now, just from a Terraria player's point of view, it's just like, I feel like I got storage under control. And at least from what I've seen of Minecraft, like, they don't restrict the amount of chests you can have. So, I don't know. I just don't get it. Yeah, I don't know if this is unique to Drunk World, but I've never seen like the jungle and the ice biome like together. I'm not sure if that's just rare or what, but I've never seen this before. Like, I don't know if this is strictly just a if this is strictly just a Drunk World thing, but this looks so weird. I'm not used to this, but this is pretty cool. I don't know if this is normal or not, but wow, I like it. Oh, ice cream. Yeah, see, this is what I mean. Like, in Terraria, I got storage under control. And then, on top of that, like, you can get a Defender's Forge and a safe. Like, I don't know. Again, like I said, maybe as an actual, like, Minecraft player, like, I'll come to appreciate bundles. I just, right now, it just, I don't get it. And that reminds me. So yeah, not too long ago, I was in the Terraria forums, and I've been somewhat keeping track of the hold on. Oh yeah, I've been somewhat keeping track with the state of the game updates, and I don't know. They haven't. I would say the developers haven't shared anything new particularly, but one of the things that I was paying attention to at the time, and I'm not sure if they shared more after this, but the latest reveal, I think it was from Line Force, was about some of the changes that were coming to some of the legacy items. And one of them was the bone glove, and I think I've already spoken about the B gear in earlier videos, so I won't go over that here. But what I decided to do is, and it's funny because I kind of made an announcement about it, was I'm gonna go dark as far as media is concerned, as with Terraria news, because thinking about it, I think one of the biggest reasons I was able to enjoy the updates in 1.4 wholesomely, or I would say wholeheartedly, without very much disappointment. Like I did see that some people were disappointed, and I get it. Like I appreciate those who really break this game apart to the point where they know exactly where a boss is gonna move, and they can break down frame data and stuff like that. Like I heavily appreciate people like that who do all the number crunching and stuff like that. I have a different point of view, but I appreciate those people because sometimes they're right, and we all get a better game because of it, and that's always good. However, since I'm not that person, and that's why we have a community, because everyone contributes, yeah, I decided to go dark because I don't really need to know that stuff. Like, it's cool information. For the most part, I'm satisfied with what 1.4 has become. So, I don't really need much. I'm happy. Like, at this point, more content is just free stuff to me. 1.4 is exactly the game that I wanted Terraria to be. Aside from minor things like that we've all experienced, it's like the slowdown, the obvious glitches and bugs that they're gonna squash, stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm pretty satisfied with where 1.4 is. But I don't want any more spoilers. So I feel like at this point, because I feel as though I understand where the developers are going with this game, I'm comfortable being a little bit more hands-off this time around. One of the examples I was thinking about, that's something really simple, like it's not super special, but it's just an example of the feeling that I want to have when I discover like any new content. So for example, like in my previous video, I found the mushroom set. Now what's weird is I had no idea whether that was a 1.3.5 item, or like, an item that's always been in the game, or if that was new. And it felt kind of weird because like I think I've been in the mushroom biomes enough. Like it's not one of my go-to places, right? Because normally I would play a summoner, so there's no real reason to go there. Um, and if I do see one, I might hop in there every once in a while, but it's not something I avoid. It's just if I see one, cool, I'll go and explore. But normally, like, it's not a go-to. So I found the mushroom set in there, and yeah, I wondered. I was like, is this new? It's pretty cool. So, I mean, I know it's something simple, but I like experiences like that. I like not knowing if something's new or if it's always been in the game. And yeah, like I was saying about the bone glove, that's kind of a major change. It going from being a throw, like a throwing item, which kind of makes sense since throwing class has been discontinued, but still, like, I think it would have been cool, right? Because I kind of know about the bone glove. Like, I've used it before, and I wasn't impressed. I've also used the ale tosser before, and I was like, these feel really gimmicky. They weren't bad items, but I never found them to be go-tos or extremely useful. Like, they always kind of felt like gimmicks, right? And I don't know if the ale tosser, for example, is going to get the same treatment. Is it going to be like the bone glove? I guess my point is, I want to find these things out organically. Like, it would have been really cool to either completely ignore the bone glove, right? Or, like, just kind of mess around with it and be like, look how stupid this thing is, and then find out that I can't equip it into a weapon slot anymore. And then, I don't even remember if that's how it worked. I can't remember, but it would have been cool to say, oh, wait a minute, what is this? And then kind of put it on and see that it's a different item. And then, because I was curious about it, probably take it out for a test drive and then see how, it really works in like real time. So, I mean, I don't feel as though that's something major, but if there's more little features like that, I'd rather not know about them. As far as the stuff that I know about through the spoilers with like, I don't think it was the state of the game thread on the Terraria forum specifically. I think it was something else. It could have been either. It was two major threads. I think one was state of the game, and the other was a suggestion thread where people in the community could suggest changes. Yeah, I think it was just as far as suggesting changes or adjustments to the game. But it was like within a limit. It couldn't be, I don't think, anything that added stuff. Just something that could smooth out the current gameplay loop, or like the current imbalances and stuff in the game. And then, a lot of people gave suggestions. I tried to stay away from that part because I don't know. I don't know. I look at Terraria probably a little differently than most players, at least in my experience, as far as like content creators and the community. Because I've paid attention to the community somewhat as far as the forums is concerned, and then there are some Terraria content creators that I watch and keep up with every so often. And when I do watch them, their take on the game usually is a lot different from my own, which is, one of the reasons why I like them. I like watching them because I like to see a different perspective. But yeah, I haven't really found anyone in the community who I would consider like a kindred spirit. But what I'll say is, though, as far as like the number crunchers and the frame counters and stuff, who I appreciate, it's not a slight, trust me. Like, you guys have contributed a lot, probably, to why it is this game so great. But I'm not that type of person. If it's not a fighting game, I don't really take imbalance into consideration unless it's egregious, right? If it's something that outright just nullifies certain aspects of the game, I'm usually against that. But if the I don't know, if you were put it on a tier list and progression had it something that was outstanding, but everything else is, it's not bad, it's pretty good for its level. It's one of those things, like, it becomes down to player choice. Like, if you want to min-max or be optimal, then of course, in every game, you can't escape that. There's going to be a best item. You can't really get away from that. Like, especially with a game that has the potential for power creep, like Terraria, with all these updates. So you can't catch everything. What I can say, though, is there's so many different ways to progress that I kind of feel like some of those complaints are a bit artificial, though I don't disagree entirely. Sometimes I leave it in the hands of, like, those who care about it the most. But some things I just can't let slide, right? So I'll speak up if I think it's necessary. But for example, one of the things that everyone finds egregious is the Daedalus Stormbow. And for the most part, I can agree. Some weapons are like the obvious choice, right? So I've never really used it like that. But here's the thing. Some people follow trends, and some people view things through the lens of people they like, right? I'm not one of those people. I like to come to my own conclusions and form my own opinions. And though I can agree that the Daedalus Stormbow is egregious, I don't think it breaks the game necessarily. I never thought it did, even when it was much better, because there's so many ways to progress, in this game, where if, for example, with me, if the Hollow isn't really a biome that I'm interested in visiting in the specific playthrough I'm doing, I would never go and fight a Hollow Mimic. What would be the point in doing that? But some people, it's just one of the things, like, they want to do the best damage, so why not go to the Hollow? You see what I'm saying? So if that's how you play, I can understand how it would be egregious. Me, for the most part, I play with what's effective, and I also like to test out new things. And if something's bad, I'll stop using it. So one thing I will say is, yes, before the updates, a lot of weapons were just bad, and that is also egregious. So I feel like, at least in my opinion, for the most part, 1.4 got a lot of things right. So I kind of feel like all the little nitpicky stuff is beyond me. I won't mind if it gets fixed. A balanced game is great. Everyone benefits from that. But I'd rather spend my energy on other things. That said, the reason I'm going dark is because that's the position I take, where I feel the game is fleshed out enough to where, you're only going to find flaws that, like, because video games, it's not going to really be something that's avoidable. Like, every game is always going to have these types of flaws, but I feel like so much love went into what 1.4 is that nitpicking about little stuff is just that, nitpicking. And that being the case, I'm more hands-off. I'm like, I like what they did. This is the game I wanted to play, so I can afford to be, I feel like at least all my desires were fulfilled. So I don't feel like there's like this last ditch effort to get the thing that I wanted in the game. I have everything I want. So I have the luxury of going dark and just allowing the developers to do their thing. So for example, one clear example, I would say, at least from those who follow like community updates and stuff, if you go to the forums, is there's these 5 new fan-made community vanity armors or vanity sets, and obviously, I don't know if this is going to be a spoiler, but obviously they're going to be distributed in the game, and perhaps I would say getting access to them is going to be different depending on each set. Now it could be simple, something as simple as killing expert mode enemies. I think I don't know if it's post Golem. I think most post Golem enemies have the ability to drop developer sets and vanity sets and stuff like that. So it could be something as simple as that. You know, you'll find them in the same way you do the developer sets. Or, here's the thing, it might be completely different. What I'm saying is, if that's the case, I don't want to know. And I think I'm having second thoughts too. I think I don't know. I'm thinking that I don't know. The Desert Tiger may just be kind of OP. Maybe just a little bit. Like I don't feel like he's breaking. I don't feel like it's breaking the game, but like I definitely shouldn't be down here. But yeah, speaking about the state of the game address, yeah, I had made one of my own. It was more so for my friends. I shared it in one of my older videos, but I feel like, at least from that perspective of trying to bring new people in, I didn't really. Okay, so I wouldn't call Terraria for me a guilty pleasure. Oh man, this music's so cool. But yeah, I wouldn't call Terraria a guilty pleasure, but I would say with the experience that I've had with the game, playing with other people, it's not really something that I would have felt comfortable recommending to, I would say, someone else, right? And I had faith, at least back before, 1.4 was a thing, I had faith that, the game would be much better off. I was thinking one of the biggest challenges was just that it was too indie, if that made any sense, where it's like, the game was fun, don't get me wrong, but it felt lacking, as if like, so when I say indie game, it felt like they skipped a lot of the obvious stuff, right? Like, for example, with most AAA games, or like, I'll use Nintendo for example, because a lot of their games use 2D sprites and stuff, and they're not so hung up on graphics and things like that. So for example, anything that has a retro feel or appearance, right? Their menus are refined. The games are designed to be easily understood. You don't get the feeling that in order to play this game, that you need an entire wiki dedicated to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's sort of like, if you come into Terraria blind, you're probably going to have a bad time. And this was pre 1.4, right? So I was hoping just for that. Like, I wasn't really expecting or felt as though all of the additions we got with 1.4 were necessary, but they were definitely welcome. However, I really did feel like the game needed to be refined a bit more to feel like a video game. Not as far as playing it is concerned, right? But as far as understanding it, like a person being able to take the game, have fun with it, explore, and not have to be so meta about everything. If that makes any sense. Like, it almost felt like in Terraria, like if you didn't know about certain obscure things, like I said, you're gonna have a bad time because the game doesn't really explain a lot of things to you. And a perfect example of that, without going into too much detail, is, for example, let's say that you build a relationship with the guide, right? And as a new player, you get this idea that he's there to help you with all the stuff you don't understand about crafting and the game and all that. Well, as soon as hard mode starts, it's like he just goes, you know, so it's just like, all right, so if he doesn't know, what the heck am I doing here? And so I like that they fix things like that. Like the UI is more understandable. Like there's more visual cues. There's more tooltips and the world generation. Like there's more things to help you where you don't have to run to the wiki all the time to understand the game. And then because of that, I can say I think one of the best additions to helping a player understand the game, if they're not interested in being super meta about it, right, is journey mode. Now, I wouldn't say I consider myself a Terraria veteran, because I purposely keep myself ignorant of certain things when it comes to this game, right? Because I like surprises. So I was never a person who knew everything. There are some things about this game I didn't know. That only changed when I got into building, because when I wanted to make specific things, back when I was still playing on old maps, I actually talked about this a long time ago, but I mean, I don't think it hurts bringing it up again here, but I was always saying to myself when I started building that, man, it would be cool if Terraria had this or that thing. Only to find out the only issue is that, number one, those things already existed, but I was playing on an old map, so they weren't available to me. And number two, a lot of the stuff was just like so obscure and strange and didn't explain to you what it did, that even if you somehow discovered it, you would have to like really mess around with it a lot to even understand what it is you were doing. Now, as I said in my own State of the Game address, obscurity is cool. You don't have to tell the player everything. Like, that's part of the fun, is learning the game on your own. But it's like I said, this stuff starts to pile on when that's the case almost every time. You have these obscure things that you want people to know about, but only the people who are tightly knit in the community and know about obscure things know about that stuff. And you kind of have to watch other people, you know, which is one of the reasons why I don't judge people who base their opinions on this game off of the people they like or watch. I get it. For a long time, if I'm being honest, that's what Terraria was. It was a very community-driven type of game. But I kind of feel like, and I've always felt like this, once I drew my own opinion or came to my own conclusion about the game, is that needed to end. It's cool. Terraria is popular. I don't feel as though it should have happened any other way. That gives Terraria its identity. But I was always saying at a certain point, you know, it has to fly on its own. And the community will only hold it back. Not that people shouldn't be appreciative of what the community contributed and all of that. It's a great game. but all good things must come to an end, and all things must be open to change, you know. And for Terraria to feel like a video game, at least in my opinion, it needed to take its training wheels off, you know. And journey mode really feels like that, because for me, as a person who doesn't consider themselves a veteran, but I like to experiment with the game, journey mode opens the door wide open for you to do that, because you really get to see what it is that you're doing in this game, or what this game's about, with very little consequence. Like, as long as you're willing to play a certain way and be patient, you get to experiment with anything you get your hands on. So I feel as though, and that's another thing that I feel is unique, is it's not a tutorial. It's almost like, here, this is a giant laboratory for you to experiment with, right? But we're not gonna punish you for mixing this ingredient with that ingredient, or this item with that item, and then getting the item that's not the best item in the game. No. You're always gonna have whatever item you got your hands on, or your friend gave to you, so long as you play by these rules. And if you understand that, it doesn't matter whether you're new to this game or if you're an old veteran to this game. You get to experiment with the game as much as you like, and that applies to everyone. And that's how I approach this game. Now, I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't come in thinking that, but that's just the takeaway that I got. Just playing the game, just trying to see what it is the developers wanted to show me. Just being as open as possible, not drawing any conclusions, not assuming anything, just deciding, okay, what game do the developers want to show me? And that's what I got. Their version of a tutorial is unique, just like the game itself. It's its own unique way of teaching a person how to play the game, and I really thought that was amazing. Wow, I thought I'd get lucky and find a pyramid, but no dice. But yeah, anyway, so that's pretty much it. I don't wanna know anything. Like, I wanna go into 1.4.1 knowing absolutely nothing. I feel like I know too much already, and you know, like I said, that mushroom costume, it's little stuff like that that I want to discover on my own. And again, perhaps they'll do it the simple way and just give the new vanity items to the post Golem bosses, and it'll just drop like developer sets do. But maybe, here's the thing, maybe they'll do something completely unique. It could even be a possibility that some of these vanity sets can be earned pre-hard mode. Like, that would be really cool too. And maybe they'll be earned in really unique ways. Maybe some of them will be sold by the traveling merchant. See, that's the thing, I don't want to know. I don't even know all of the stuff that the traveling merchant, sells. Like, I've tried to find all the vanity sets, and I still don't think that I've found them all. Like, I've found the maid costumes, the pretty pink one. I'm still trying to figure out how to create the green thread. So, yeah, I like the challenge of trying to do that stuff. So that's why I want to completely stay away from spoilers this time. But yeah, I guess that's the end of this rant. So yeah, I'm just selling stuff, you know, trying to get used to the idea that a lot of the stuff I'm not going to need, and I'm going to have plenty of money to buy any weapons much later on, or maybe even buy some leaf wings if I'm lucky later on, because that's something I usually don't do. It'll just be a change of pace, I think. But yeah, I just want to try different stuff, because that's the cool thing about Terraria, is progression is fluid. You can progress however you want if it's possible. Sometimes things are a challenge run. Sometimes things are just because you don't know what the optimal method is, because you know you don't follow other people. So anyhow, thank you very much for joining me today and listening to me rant. I hope you're enjoying the challenge run so far. But yes, I hope to see you all next time, and stay safe out there. Make sure to wash your hands, stay hydrated, and yeah, bye for now. Yeah, that's not worth getting. I'm not going back there.